Welcome to episode 4 of Inside Front Row. I'm Heather DeBeaux, and today we will catch up with Todd Gilliland and Michael McDowell after NASCAR's Olympic break and Richmond Raceway. With only 2 races remaining in the regular season, both Todd and Michael will analyze their chances on making the playoffs with Daytona and Darlington on the horizon. Let's catch up with Todd first. So Todd, we have 2 chances remaining to make the playoffs. How do you treat these final 2 regular season races?
Yeah, obviously I think there's definitely a lot of pressure on these last 2 races. But at the same time, right, it's not the end of the season. It's not, but it is obviously something we want to be able to achieve and go race for a championship. So yeah, overall, I'm just really proud that, I feel like now that we're almost to the point of, being able to go out and steal a win at a place like Daytona or Darlington, where, years past, I don't think we really had the speed to even go out and kind of luck into one. So I'm really excited about that. I think, like I said, our speed has never been better than it is right now. And yeah, I think, if we can win one of these next 2 races, that would be huge.
So aggression towards the end of regular season ramps up a little bit, especially with how important it is to win. So how do you balance aggression going into Daytona and Darlington?
Yeah, I think, like you said, right? I think it's an old saying, and it's annoying when you're like a younger guy, but you must first finish to finish first, right? So, yeah, I mean, that still applies, right? Especially at a place like Daytona. But at the same time, right, a lot of the wrecks at the end of the race happen right up front. So that's step 1. You have to be up front to be able to win the race, obviously. And then on the flip side of it, you have to be pretty lucky. You still definitely have a lot of stuff has to go your way. So, yeah, those are that's the easy parts. And then yeah, Darlington, right? There's still a lot of risk versus reward there. You'll see everybody running right up against the wall, but it's about not pushing that last couple inches to where you get into the wall or hit it even harder than you normally do. So yeah, it's definitely a balance, but at the same time, you have to be pushing every single lap. That's the name of the game nowadays. And I think you'll see a lot of guys that might overstep it at a place like Daytona or Darlington for sure.
So of those 2 tracks, is there one that you favor more than the other?
Man, I don't know. I think I'm really excited for both. I think definitely going to Daytona, I feel like that might be our best chance. Our super speedway cars have been really fast this year. With Michael, I think qualifying on the front row, Daytona got the pole at Atlanta. We were kind of right there with them. So yeah, we've led a lot of laps on the super speedways, and eventually being up there that much will lead to a good finish. But then again, going back to Darlington, that was one of our strongest runs of the year too, on a normal kind of 1.5 mile intermediate type racetrack. So I like them both. I definitely think Daytona might be our little bit better option, but I definitely would like to think too we can go to Darlington, compete for the win.
Well, it's going to be exciting to watch. You can't wait to see what happens, and good luck. And here with me now is Michael McDowell. Michael, thank you so much for being here on Inside Front Row, but let's talk Daytona. You have success on super speedways, so how do you think that'll play to your advantage going into that race coming up?
I don't know, it's Daytona, anything can happen. I'm glad that it's a race that we have to fight for a playoff spot though, just because we've had success there. We've had good super speedway speed this year too with a couple poles. So everything lines up for us to have a good shot at running up front and putting ourselves in position, but it's Daytona, so anything can happen. So, it's just one of those races. You go into it with that mindset of, you have to be aggressive. You got to put yourself in a spot, and it's somewhere we've had success, so we can do it.
So if you could write the script, we're coming down to those last final laps at Daytona. What is it going to take for you to win, and how do you envision that going down?
Yeah, lately with this next-gen car, it seems like you want to be leading at Daytona when it comes down to that white flag, where, in years past, you maybe want to be second or third. You don't want to be the car leading. So every scenario is different. I think that the biggest thing is who's around you and what their situation is, and the desperation changes if it's, Denny Hamlin versus, say, maybe a Ross Chastain that's not in currently. Or Bubba Wallace, right? And so every scenario plays out a little bit different. But the biggest thing is you got to be there when the white flag comes out, and you got to be in position.
Well, you'll also have a shot at Darlington. So you and your team have improved quite a bit at that track. So how would you say that it's been going when you visit the Lady in Black? Yeah,
I think Darlington's been strong for us lately, and it is another opportunity race. I know some people won't think it like that, but with tire fall off there and strategy, you can have some scenarios that put you out front at the right time. So I feel good about the last 2 races. I mean, if it was Sonoma and Watkins Glen, I'd probably feel like a little bit better. But 2 good racetracks for us, 2 good opportunities to still get in the playoffs. And, you know, we got a lot of fight left in us.
And the Southern 500, it's one of the most demanding races that we see throughout the entire season. And now it's a cutoff race to make it into the playoffs. So do you think that's going to change anything as far as the race goes?
I think the strategy element will change because you're always managing tires there. You're always conserving sets of tires that you might need if you get a late race caution, like we saw at Richmond and things like that, where you have heavy tire wear. So the strategy part of it, I think guys will be more aggressive that have to win. You know, we saw Regan Smith stay out there one time, right? On some older tires and hold off to win the race. It's not something you think you would do at Darlington, but with this next gen car, I think it's a real possibility.
Awesome. Well, best of luck to you. We'll be rooting for you. We will keep our eyes on both Todd and Michael over the next few weeks as Front Row Motorsports attempts to make the NASCAR playoffs once again.